What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Grownish. Now, I know it has been a while since I have reviewed the show, but since the show was a two-parter episode, I decided let's go ahead and put them together so that way we can get the full story. Now, let's get started. So, first of all, I must say, when Doug was doing all of this running, I was confused. Here's why I was confused, because we kept seeing shots of Doug running. He's saying hi to every black person that he walks past. I'm trying to figure out, how did he get that far to where the black people were? You guys, I know episode is a very serious matter. However, where is Cal U supposed to be based at? Because I'm assuming that Cal U was supposed to be based off of like UCLA. If anybody knows anything about LA, UCLA is in Westwood, which is a predominantly white neighborhood. But if you were to go to USC is in the middle of the hood. Once you pass like a 5-block parameter around that school, you are in the hood. So I'm like, where is he at that he's seeing all these black people around Cal U? Because it looks like he was in like the middle of Inglewood passing up a bunch of black people, or he was in like Watts passing up a bunch of black people. But either way, he ends up going into the store, and then we see a shot where there's two different cashiers. So that's where I was just like, oh, okay, something's up here. So we saw two different cashiers, and then when we saw one person exiting out of the store, we see the police have pulled up, and we also see that is where someone got killed. So, come to find out, it was actually another guy, but it was happening at the same time that Doug was on his run. The only difference was that this guy was on Virginia time, and Doug was on LA time. So, after that, we see that Doug is having a party. Everybody else is posting about the tragic incident that happened to this guy who was very innocent. He didn't have any weapons or anything. All he had was a Gatorade. And Doug, he still wants to have his party. Here comes Luca's little sister. And I can't even remember her name. Layla or something. Is it Layla? Leela? Oh, I could be wrong. I could be thinking about All American. Either way, y'all know this little girl name. So she comes by and is like, oh my gosh, how can you post this about your party when all this stuff is going on? Have you not watched the news? And he's like, yeah, I've watched the news, but I just want to have a popping party. And of course, she goes in on him about how he's not posting the hashtag and how he needs to turn the party into basically a fundraiser for this guy and his family. And Doug, he does not want to do that. He just wants to have a good time. He wants to take his mind off of all these things that are happening. And I must say that as a black person myself, this is kind of hard to say. We already have a hard time living in this country. We know that we are judged for everything that we do. But also on top of that, sometimes the tragedy is too much for us. Sometimes we do need to do things that take our minds off of all the bad things that happen to us. And I mean, and I completely understand what he meant by, not posting the hashtag, because at the end of the day, there were a lot of people who posted hashtags and, they said that they were standing with black people. But in the real life, they didn't correct their racist uncles. They didn't correct their racist parents. They still had racist things that they had going on with themselves. You know what I'm saying? There were a lot of fake allies. So I understand what, he's saying. Like, yeah, we can post hashtags, but what is that really going to do? Especially when the system is completely messed up. But you know what? Let's just go ahead and move on. At the end of that scene, she was pissed off at him and he was over it. So next thing you know, we have Jazz, Vivek, and Nomi. They're taking shots. The only thing I got out of that was when Nomi was like, you know who doesn't have a father? My child doesn't have a father. But you don't see her having a pity party. I fell out. I can't lie. I fell out because she didn't tell no lies. Her child really ain't got no daddy because he don't want to be involved. And even though that's messed up, I still laughed. So next thing you know, we learned that Doug had kidney stones. And him and Jazz, they're good now. You know, he made amends with her. Next thing you know, Anna and Javi come downstairs. And Jazz is like, oh, so you guys are like, you know, back making love with each other. And they're like, no, we're still doing dry stuff. I don't even want to know what that is because they too old for that. That's all I'm going to say. Y'all are too old for dry anything. But we're going to move along. So come to find out, he ends up giving her this fancy watch for their anniversary. Cute, cute, cute. Y'all, let's get to this party because it looked like it's popping or whatever. Aaron is there with Zoe and Doug is like, yo, like this could really be like a side hustle for me because at $20 a head, you know, it's not even midnight. Like I probably made like a killing. No, because Kayla, I think her name is Kayla. She decided that, oh no, if you sign her petition, then you could go ahead and get it for free. And that's how Zoe and Aaron, they got in. Doug is pissed off, and I cannot lie, I would be pissed off as well. It's one thing for you to come to me at the end of the night and be like, yo, I know you made a bunch of money off of that. Maybe you could donate some of it or something like that. But for you to just let people in for free and you didn't even mention it to him, and then her reasoning was because, well, this is my brother's loft. Like, yeah, it is your brother's location. But at the end of the day, your brother said, I can use this location and I can charge people. I don't even understand why she was working the door. Now, I will say, I loved Diggy's accent or Doug's accent this whole time because it was so New York, especially when he was like, I'm not trying to disrespect your sister, so you might want to come get her because I definitely feel a disrespectful spirit coming on. I said, ooh, I like this. So Luca does not see the problem though. He's like, I thought that you were down for supporting the cause and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. But you still should have consulted Doug and be like, hey man, you know, my sister came up with this idea of, you know, people signing a petition, they can get it for free. What you think about that? Like, it would have been an easy conversation. Also, the difference in this is that from what I can recall, Luca has money, he comes from money, and Doug does not. And Doug is trying to make some type of money. Just a few dollars on the side. So once Luca was like, you know, aren't you down supporting an innocent black man? You know, Doug is like, no, I'm not. So that, you know, everybody red flag went off. But from his perspective, he feels like, I just wanted to have a good time. I wanted to have a party. And I just didn't want to bring nobody's mood down. And of course, he wanted to get some coin. He wanted to get his money. Here come little Miss Kayla calling him a bad black person because he's not supporting the movement. And even Aaron kind of agrees with her and is like, well, you know, when these type of things happen, you kind of like ghost social media. You don't really post. You don't tweet about anything. And next thing you know, here comes Zoe, what's her name? Naomi and Jazz. Now, they come over there trying to see what's going on. And Kiki is like, you know, if you're not uplifting the black community, then you're basically holding us down. Now, Doug is like, listen, at the end of the day, our joy in the face of all of this mess that's happening, that's important as well, which I do agree. Unfortunately, for being a black person, you have to be able to balance both. You have to be able to stand in front of the tragedy as well as be able to find little joys in life. Now here comes the part that got me. Jazz steps in and is like, oh, hi, Kiki, I'm Jazz, but you can call me by my government name, Jaslyn. I fell out because she literally introduced herself as Jazz, but no, sweetheart, you can call me Jaslyn. You don't get the right to call me Jazz. So we see the Jazz is trying to take up for Doug just a little bit, you know, saying that, you know, yes, people, they do post on social media, but a lot of people are bandwagon jumpers. They're just posting because that's the hot trend to do this. Now, Aaron chimes in and he's like, yes, there are bandwagon jumpers, but also this does promote more visibility. Now, when Jazz decided to throw Zoe under the bus, I did not expect that because she was like, listen, this girl right here, she reposts everything. But that don't mean she really out here in the trenches really fighting anything. So then here goes Zoe. She gets offended. And she has to let, Jazz know that she actually does care about this cause because she does have a black dad. She also has black brothers. Now, my only issue with what she said in this situation, but I guess it's because it's on a TV show, is that, she has a black father and a black brothers. Because at the end of the day, there have been so many cases where the police have shot innocent black women. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I feel like in that particular moment, they should have also added in, yes, I have a black dad, I have black brothers, and at the end of the day, I'm a black woman, and I'm not safe in America. You know what I mean? But I get it. So she then says that, she's been marching for this type of stuff since high school. Now, y'all, I don't know what type of Zoe they thought that they were serving us, because if we all could recall, Zoe or Blackish is not exactly the Zoe that's on Grownish, but I'm gonna let them ride with this one. So now she asks Jazz, like, okay, so what are you gonna do for the cause? And Jazz says that she stands corrected when it comes to Zoe. Now, how do I feel about this whole conversation? I do like that this conversation happened because we have not seen one of these type of group setting conversations happen in a minute. But at the same time, I kind of didn't like how everybody kind of ganged up on Doug all of a sudden, and how nobody was like, okay, he does have a point. Black people being happy, that matters as well. But you know what? I digress. Let's move on. We see Anna. She's having a conversation with Vivek. She's trying to figure out, what does he know about this gift that she got from Javi? Come to find out, Vivek ended up helping Javi pick out the gift for her. Javi comes by. Anna is mentioning how she just found out that Vivek helped him find a gift. And he's like, is that a problem? And she's like, no, it's not a problem. Clearly, it's a problem because she thought that he thought of this on his own. So we get back to this conversation that the group was having. Jazz is like, why are we in the middle of a party having this conversation? Because at the end of the day, white people are never sitting around saying, am I a bad white person? You guys, am I a bad white person? They have never done that. I can definitely vouch that white people do not do that. Now, we get into this conversation of basically, why does any of this matter? Because Doug is stating that, this system that has been created years and years ago has always been to make white people look good and black people look bad, and how black people can never seem to reach the status that we should be able to reach because, again, the system is against us. Now, you have Aaron chiming in, which I was waiting on him to chime in considering he was the woke black character. And he talks about how, yes, you are right. Black people have never been allowed to do anything, but this is our time to fight because for 400 years, we have never been allowed to do certain things. Had we not fought for different things, there wouldn't be any civil rights. There wouldn't be, any type of advancement for black people. So you then have Doug come back and say, okay, you want to talk about advancements, but at the end of the day, there's still targets on our back. Regardless if I get a high paying job, regardless if I get a degree, that does not matter as long as people have a problem with black people. Now, Zoe ends up picking up her phone and it's saying that the cops who shot this guy, Marcus, they are getting paid leave and there are no charges being brought against them. So Aaron is like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And Doug, he's like, is it though? Because there has been so many of these cases that we have seen time and time again where innocent black people have been killed by police officers unnecessarily. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, we have seen it happen so much that it has just normalized in us to be like, oh, damn, there goes another one. Justice has still not been served. So let's go ahead and move on because we then see Doug, he goes to see Kiki, right? because she's already in her dorm. Just check on her, see what's up with her. And she apologizes, for coming at him the way that she did. She was very frustrated with the situation, and she started to spiral. So Doug ends up opening up, and he's like, listen, it's not that I don't care, but as a black man, in society, there's just the weight of the world on our shoulders, first of all. Secondly, we have a target on our back automatically. And, he goes on and on about what it's like to be a black man in this country. And at one point, he talks about how he tries to put all these things in the back of his mind so that he doesn't paralyze himself and he doesn't break. Now, out of nowhere, here comes Kiki with a kiss. I'm sorry, y'all, but I hate that on TV shows and movies, whenever there's this moment where someone is being honest and vulnerable, they kiss somebody. Like, it doesn't really happen in real life like that, but for some reason in the TV world, it does. But, she ends up apologizing, and then he says, don't be sorry, and then they kiss again. You guys, I'm sorry, I'm going to be honest, I don't see it for Doug and Kiki. And this has nothing to do with him and Jazz. It more so has to do with the fact that he's a senior, she's a freshman. Why doesn't she have any freshman friends? Why does she hang out with her brother's friends? That's a bit weird to me. Because I know plenty of people, even though they are brother and sister, or brother and brother, or sister and sister, they go to the same college, they do not hang out together like that. Especially if one is a freshman and one is a senior. Because at the end of the day, all these people are going to be leaving this school, girl. Who are you going to be hanging out with? Make it make sense. Let's go ahead and move on. So we hop on over to Anna and Vivek. They actually have a conversation about this gift. And she's still in her feelings. And Vivek is like, listen, he didn't want to mess up again, so he enlisted me to help him find a perfect gift. And then she was like, okay, well, I guess that's, a sweet gesture. So now she's going to go properly thank Javi. I guess they're going to do some more dry things. Whatever. So we then see Doug and Luca. They're about to have a conversation about how they made some money, from the party, and how this could be a side hustle, which is something that Doug said earlier in this episode. But we're interrupted because the news is on, and come to find out, there has been a 14-year-old boy got murdered by the police when he was on his way to school. So within a week of the last murder, this would happen. So now this has changed everything in Doug. Doug, he wants to fight back. He wants to start, being involved. And I do like to see that in his character because that shows growth. But I also still understand where his character was coming from because, like I said before, being a black person in society is very hard to try to balance all the trauma that happens, not only to you in your personal life, but to other black people, and how it affects you and how it puts fear in you because you are just like them. But then you also want to have joy in life. You do want to have a good time. You do want to, experience life how every other race gets to, especially the white people. White people never worry about having a target on their back. But unfortunately, as a black person, you do. That is the number one worry that you have in your life, is that you won't make it home safely. And I must say that I did enjoy the end scene where they had not every, because there has been so many, but a lot of the names that we have seen over the years of black people who were innocent that were murdered. They had their names going across the screen, and I definitely appreciate that touch. And the fact that they played Blackberry Molasses by Mista. Now, I will say that right there is one of my favorite songs. And if you guys know who Bobby Valentino is, that was actually a group that he was in when he was a teenager. I would definitely say go ahead and go listen to that full song because the song is really good. Let's go ahead and move on to the second episode of this two-parter. So we start this episode off with everyone standing with signs because they're protesting, and Avery Wilson is singing. So next thing you know, they get an alert on their phone, and it's like, California has a curfew, and you guys need to evacuate within 15 minutes. Now, you guys, I must say that when all the protesting was happening big in California, there was definitely alerts on our phones that we got that said, there's a curfew happening at 4:30 p.m. Everybody has to, evacuate the area. Keep in mind when they sent those out, it may have been like 3:45 or so. However, most people who are out protesting, a lot of people, they turn their phones off because, number one, you don't want your battery to die. You may need your phone later. Secondly, a lot of their phone was already dead because they've been protesting all day and like recording footage and everything. So a lot of people didn't even get those alerts. Like what they were doing would be like cornering people. Once it came close to that time, they would make you sit on the ground. You couldn't leave because they were making sure they were arresting people. Like, it was just really crazy during the time of all the protests. I just wanted to add that little tidbit in. But back to the show, here comes the breakdown of the friends, because Doug is like, yo, we need to go ahead and head downtown because that's where, everybody's at. And first person who's out of it, Anna. We should have already known that Little Miss Republican Anna, she was going to dip out. We should have known. Her and Javi, they're done. Nomi is like, y'all know I will be down for the cause, but who gonna feed Luna if I go to jail? She's out. So, when it came down to the black people, Jazz wasn't in it because she's like, listen, they got those rubber bullets and I'm not trying to get hit by one of those. Honestly, those rubber bullets, even though, of course, they say that, those are safer than a gunshot, listen, those wounds from a rubber bullet, yeah, nobody wants any part of that. Even Zoe, she was like, no, I'm not going to, go past this government curfew, but please, can y'all please be safe? That's what she's telling Aaron. And I did enjoy the fact that they did not make all these characters be like, oh yeah, we're all going to go to, we're going to go downtown so that we can protest. I did like the fact that they were like, listen, we protested, but at the end of the day, there are certain things that I'm not willing to risk. I think that was very realistic, and I love that they put that into the show. So we have Aaron, Doug, Luca, and Kiki. They're all going downtown. Y'all, for some reason, we have Anna and Javi at a food truck. For some reason, Javi sees some police officers. I guess they were in line or whatever. And he's like, thank you guys for your services. Services doing what? You literally just marched for black people, but then you're going to try to be buddy-buddy with the police? And then it was like some black people standing behind him who was giving him the side eye. I said, Anna, get your man. But then again, she a Republican, so I don't even know where she fully stands on this situation, to be honest. Anyways, moving along, you have the girls there at home, and Jazz is like, yeah, a couple of friends hit me up. They let me know that the Beverly Center just got hit. Here goes Nomi. I don't even understand why people want to do that, because at the Women's March, it was so peaceful. Like, girl, marching for justice as a black person versus Women's March where everyone is just like, we're women, we're here. Like, it's total different vibes, sweetheart. So Nomi is over here digging herself into a hole, talking about I just don't understand why those people need to loot and steal things. And both Jazz and Zoe are like, those people? So let's go ahead and hop on over to what's happening at the protest. And of course, we have the 4 people who went. They're on the front lines, and the police officers are like, listen, that curfew is now being enforced. Next thing you know, each person is like saying something, and then Kiki kind of like walks up and she's saying whatever she has to say to the police officers, and they just like take a step forward and got kind of, really close to her. So then Doug ends up throwing something, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this could go so much worse. They could have literally attacked him because he threw something at them. But they ended up throwing, I can't think of, what is it, like smoke bombs or something? I don't know what those things are called. But they ended up throwing out to the crowd, and everybody just pretty much dispersed. Now let's go ahead and talk about what happened back at the house, because we got to get back to this conversation with Nomi. Because Nomi just does not understand why the girls are accepting looting as something that's acceptable. She does not understand how these girls can justify it, even though, you have Jazz who's saying, like, listen, my dad, he has a small business, but if his truck has to go up in flames, he will be okay with that because of the cause. You have Zoe who's saying that, it is a part of, it's a part of how Black people can be heard. Now, my own perspective, I personally do not like, the looting, just especially when it's like a small business. However, first of all, because I don't think that you have insurance for these types of things. Because when you have like insurance for like businesses and all that, yeah, you have insurance if there's a fire, if there's a flood, if there is an earthquake, but there's no insurance for looting. I don't think they have that. Just throwing that out there. Now, I will say that from the last riot that happened, well, a little bit of like, I won't even say riot, I will say looting that happened with the last marches that we've been having, which happened over the course of like the pandemic. A lot of the places that they were hitting, like the Beverly Center, and when they hit like some sneaker stores on Melrose, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I wasn't even mad at them, because at the end of the day, those are overpriced places, and also they're in a white neighborhood. If you guys know anything about LA, whether it be the Watts riots that happened in the 60s or the 1992 LA riots, you would know that, unfortunately, when those riots happened, a lot of looting happened, a lot of things were burned down. Now, when those things were happening, it was in Black neighborhoods. They burned down their own neighborhoods, and unfortunately, the Watts area, as well as those parts of LA that got burned down, like South Central, those neighborhoods have never recovered. And I'm being so serious. Those neighborhoods have never recovered from what happened during all that looting and rioting, because those businesses never came back into those neighborhoods. And yeah, you may say, oh, well, it was just like a little mom and pop store. It was just a little grocery store. That's not even important. The lives of people is important. I absolutely agree with that. But also, sometimes you do have to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is, if you burn down your own neighborhood, and if you loot from your own neighborhood, that does not mean that those businesses have to come back to your area. That does not. And what does that do for us? As a Black people, you would have to go further for your groceries. You may have to go further to shop for things. I'm just putting that out there, putting it in a different perspective. Now, so for them to be looting, the Bev Center, I said, go ahead, on the show. And she's like, yeah, they hit the Beverly Center. Because honestly, that mall makes so much money. Yeah, go ahead and hit the Beverly Center. It's a white people neighborhood. It's okay. All right, you guys, so back on topic, we have Nomi in her feelings because Zoe made the statement that, sometimes Nomi has a racist way of thinking. Oh, why she say that? Because Nomi is in her feelings because she's like, I am not racist. I'm not trying to judge people based on their skin color or anything like that. But you have Zoe, she's trying to explain to Nomi, like, no, we know who you are as a person. We know your character. We're just saying that because you're focusing on the looting and the rioting, you're not focused on the way that people have been oppressed, and it's because of their oppressors, not because of looting and rioting. That's what you want to focus on. So then you have Nomi, she's like, she's still not understanding why this is such a harsh way for them to try to explain that to her, like calling her a racist. And Zoe is like, well, every time that you've corrected us, we have never acted how you're acting, which is very true. Not too long ago, when we had the episode about Vivek being bi, she was the main one who was like, no, you guys, that's not right. You cannot say that he's bi because he tried something and he didn't like it, right? Everybody was like, all right, whatever. That's what she said. It's cool. Nobody tried to argue back with her in the way that she's doing this now. So after this, we see that Jazz got another text talking about her friends about to hit up the Barnes and Noble at the Grove. Anybody want that new Zane? I fell out because I feel like if there's any white people watching this show, they will not know what Zane is. Honestly, I don't even think the demographic of people who watch the show Grownish even know who Zane is as an author. No, I am not in my college years. Yes, I am out of college and I still watch this show, but I definitely know who Zane is as an author. I would just say go ahead and check out some of the books that Zane has written, and then y'all let me know what y'all think. Let's go ahead and move on because you know that they had a meetup spot. The people who went to the protest. So Luca walks up. He's like, where's Kayla? Because she's not there. All we see is Doug and Aaron. They thought that she was with him. So Luca's phone is dead. He's like, yo, can I use your phone? I'm just going to try to text her because there's bad service around here. Y'all, why Doug give his phone up like that? We can literally see the text messages between them. And Luca is like, dude, are you smashing my sister? And Doug is like, no, I mean, Aaron is like, this is too much. Kiki, where are you? Okay, now let me go into this next scene because, baby, Anna's one better than me because she brings up to Javi like, yo, like, why'd you thank the cops in front of these black protesters when you know that that's who they were just protesting against? And his whole thing is that, like, are we not supposed to thank, like, our families who are in the military, blah, 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 blah? First of all, your families are an oppressed people as well. Neither one of y'all are white. But then again, let's not neglect the fact that there are some Latinos who tend to be more white passing, and they forget that they are a minority who is oppressed. Secondly, the fact that he sat up there was like, we already know who the bad guys were, and it was the black protesters. So she's sitting there shocked that he even said this, and he's like, oh, I'm kidding. I don't know about that. I don't feel like he was really kidding. I feel like he was just saying that so that she would, close her mouth because her mouth was open, that he even said that it was black protesters. So we jump back over to Doug and Luca. First of all, okay, his sister name ain't Kayla, it's Keela or Kyla. I don't know. I feel like they keep pronouncing it differently depending on what character is saying her name. So I'm going to call her Kiki from now on. So Doug is like, listen, let me just tell you what's really going on between us because I don't want us to have no weird energy. We kissed and that was it. Of course, for Luca, he's like, listen, you clearly don't know what loyalty means. I absolutely agree with Luca on this topic because at the end of the day, Doug, once you found out that was Luca's little sister, you should have just went on ahead dead at that energy because no, it makes things awkward. It makes things weird, especially if y'all break up or if y'all actually get together and things get weird. It's just not good. So Aaron says that he found her and they're going to go catch up with them. So we get back to the house and the girls are like, oh, we're going to order some Thai food. Naomi, do you want some? She's like, I don't really like Thai food, but if I say that, then I'll be considered racist. And it's like, okay, now she's taking everything to heart. And the ladies are like, why are you acting like this? Like, first of all, why do you want to keep this conversation going in this negative way? So you have Jazz who's like, listen, this is just all your white fragility talking. And it absolutely is. Because now Naomi feels like she's the victim. So once I got into that deeper conversation of Jazz telling Naomi like, hey, well, don't you think that you view the world differently because it's already ingrained in you to view the world differently? Honestly, I do feel like That right there, that statement, it was very honest and it was very true. As a person of color, you view the world very differently than a person who is white. And that's just a pure fact. It is what it is. But Nomi also brings up a good point of how Jewish people have always marched with black people when it comes to civil rights. So you have the girl saying, listen, we're only telling you this because we love you. And Nomi's like, listen, if I knew someone who was homophobic or anti-Semitic, then we wouldn't be friends anymore. So why are y'all still trying to be my friend? So again, like I said, her white fragility, that is what's happening. She is completely victimizing and not being like, oh, I understand where you guys are coming from. So she ends up calling her mom, and her mom is like, listen, a lot of people's emotions are really high right now, and you are not a racist because I raised you not to see color. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Why she say that? Because Nomi is like, wait, well, that's a problematic statement because that means that you're not saying someone in their full identity. Oh, here comes the mom with her white fragility, and she's just like going off on Nomi about this, talking about some, because you sound just like your friends right now, all this stuff. And in that moment, I feel like Nomi realized what Jazz was saying. Yes, sometimes there are things that are ingrained in you that's why you don't see the world the same way someone else does. All right, let's go ahead and hop on over to the protesters because you have Luca being a big brother. You guys, honestly, Luca has been dry a lot throughout the series. And I must say that I do like him this season. And also seeing him be a big brother to his sister, like, are you okay? How can I help you? How can I fix it? You did nothing wrong. Just like saying all those things to her. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the Luca that I like. In that moment though, I feel like Kiki realized that, yes, this is a huge issue with the police, and you're standing there, you're fighting for justice, against police brutality, and next thing you know, you're brutalized by the police because baby girl got hit with tear gas for a second time. All right, now let's go ahead and hop on over to Anna and Javi because she lets him know what happened to Kiki, and he's like, oh, wow, it's terrible or whatever. And she brings it up again about him thanking cops and how he should feel bad that he even made that statement. But he doesn't want to talk about that anymore. But Anna is like, no, we're going to talk about this because, what you said was really messed up. So here's the thing with their relationship. Yes, he does have a point that Anna is all over the place. Absolutely. But I also feel like Anna is not the same girl that we met, when the show first started. Yes, Anna was supposed to be this Republican, but I feel like over time, what happened to Anna's Republican views, I don't know. But I don't feel like she's really a Republican like that anymore. And also, she's allowed to change. She's allowed to grow. When we first met her, she was supposed to be a freshman. An 18-year-old freshman coming into a new school, and all we knew was that she was a Republican. Yes, as you attend college and you learn more and you grow more, your views start to change. And she's definitely allowed to change. Now, Javi, of course, she feels like Javi thinks that they need to have the same viewpoints. But Javi, on the other hand, he feels like it's just a breakdown in their relationship and that their relationship shouldn't be that hard. So next thing you know, the relationship is over. They break up. It's done. Now, for me, we would have broke up with that chlamydia storyline. But you know what? I'm kind of glad that she broke up with Javi because at the end of the day, I want Anna to go ahead and go find herself. Find the things that she enjoys. I want Anna to go ahead and, really figure out who she is as a person. But let's go ahead and move on. So the guys walk Kiki back to her dorm room. And at the end of the night, you have Aaron going back to go talk to Zoe because he got to explain what white fragility is. And then we see Luca and Doug have this quick conversation. And Doug says, you know what? I overstepped the boundaries and I will no longer be trying to pursue your sister because at the end of the day, I don't want to come between siblings. I actually appreciate the fact that Luca was like, great. You know what I mean? Because I did not want it to be a situation where Luca is like, it's okay, you can date my sister. Like, no, I don't want that to happen. I would rather he just, be cool with her, but I don't think that they need to date. Now let's go ahead and move on. So we see Nomi comes downstairs and she has to apologize to the lady. She realizes that she was raised to think one way and she now understands where the ladies are coming from. And of course, they open their arms to her because at the end of the day, she is their friend and Nomi's not a bad person. She just has to realize that, there are things that make people different as well as be able to see that people are being treated differently. So moving forward, I feel like Nomi will be very mindful of the things that are happening around her, especially when it comes to people of color. So we then see that Zoe has picked up a book about white fragility. She's like, wow, I did not know this is what this meant. And then we see that Jazz, she is, reaping the benefits of her friend's 5-figure discount because she is covered in like Brookstone things, which are like, massagers and those type of things. I'm like, you know what, Jazz? I cannot with you. Cannot. But overall, I must say that I absolutely enjoyed these past 2 episodes. Let me know what you guys thought about the episodes. I will be back to my normal schedule. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Bye, guys.